Let's cross over to our reporter, Audrey Chimwanda, who is in Harare. Audrey, good afternoon to you. Just give us some insights into how this day of elections has transpired, seen across parts of Harare that you're covering. From what we hear, there have been challenges with ballot papers being unavailable in some polling stations.
That's correct, Hugo. About 30% of polling stations across the country, across the 10 provinces, have been affected with the issue of ballot papers. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has been updating us every couple of hours with regards to those issues and also the progress of how they are monitoring and running this election. They have made us know that the issue of all the court cases that have happened with candidates being challenged at the Harare High Court, intra-party politics as well as opposition politics, is what delayed the printing of ballot papers. Most of these issues are centered around the local government candidates. That's where most of the contestation was happening before the ballot papers were printed. So they have attributed that issue of late ballot papers being delivered to the polling stations to that issue. They have, however, said they will be extending the voting hours to all those polling stations that have been affected. And speaking of polling stations, the one behind me has been quite an empty one. We came here a few minutes ago, and we're told that most of the people that came to vote here in Lewisam, we're in Harare North at the moment, came earlier on. But we're lucky to find one voter, a lone ranger, who came to cast his ballot, and he was happy to speak to us. Alistair, why are you all by yourself here today?
Audrey, I came past earlier in the morning. I anticipated there'd be queues in the morning. I voted before. I tend to realize that everyone rushes in the morning. So I thought I would wait till the late afternoon and arrived here as the sole person.
Makes sense, I suppose. But what was your general experience of walking into the polling station, the service that you were given, the processes that you went through?
I think it all looks very, very professional. I think this isn't the first election. The process is well settled, and it's well done. All the people there look as though they would like to have a few more voters pitching up, but yeah, it's all very smooth.
Well, perhaps you could tell us how long you've stayed in this constituency, and is this the kind of pattern that you've seen throughout the years of not having so many voters coming through to polling stations?
Gosh. I've been here in this constituency for about 25 years, but typically, yes, there's a big. I think it's dropped over the years, to be honest. I think the first elections after independence were a lot more crowded. Whether or not they got more organised, more polling stations, I can't tell you, but there certainly seem to be fewer people voting now.
Yeah, and just to round it off, I know you're in a hurry to leave. What would you attribute that to, a drop in numbers of people that want to participate in this democratic process?
I think the lack of change probably that we've experienced over the years would seem to suggest to people that there isn't going to be any change going forward as well. So no point in voting. It's not my view, though. I think if you don't vote, you don't complain.
Alistair, thank you so much for your time. We certainly appreciate it. Alistair, right there saying people are perhaps just despondent because they are not positive that their vote will count. He has also spoken about the dwindling numbers of people that have been voting in the almost 30 years that he's lived in this constituency. Hugo, just under 4 hours before polling stations close in most of the constituencies that actually opened on time at 7 o'clock. We will be going to some of the polling stations that are near us as they close down, as they wind down, just to get a sense of how the day progressed for people that have been queuing for hours. Hugo.
Now, Audrey, you did suggest that, in fact, you stated earlier that a number of these polling stations opened a little bit late. So please confirm for us that, we seem to have lost Audrey Chimwanda, who's coming to us from Harare. Just give us an update on how polling has been taking place. Meanwhile, as we carry on, polling stations in Zimbabwe are due to close at 7 this evening, but for some extensions will be granted due to delays.